The right to know and the right to privacy have blurred the access of information on Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's health condition. As the Prime Minister, Oli is a person of public interest and even more so when his health conditions has deteriorated. In such time, it is felt that the right to privacy should not overpower the people's right to information. Good morning, I'm Amar Singh Pradhan. Let's begin with the top stories this hour. Sanghiya Samajwadi Forum Nepal remains undecided on its stand on government, resorts to frequent criticism while sticking with the ruling coalition. Nepal Oil Corporation fails to implement its cooking gas scheme aimed at providing relief to customers bearing the brunt while businesses continue to profit. Protests erupt across Iran as the government announces rationing of petrol and increasing its prices by at least 50%. And NFA expels 4 players from the national team on disciplinary grounds, the incident first of its kind in Nepal's football history. Let us begin with national political updates. The Sanghiya Samajwadi Forum Nepal is in a fix with the ruling Nepal Communist Party. Despite expressing its dissatisfaction with the government's performance and criticizing it in every public event, it is unwilling to leave the government. Along with Deputy Prime Minister Upendra Yadav, the party has 3 ministers in the KP Sharma Oli-led government. The Sanghiya Samajwadi Forum Nepal joined the government after signing a 2-point agreement with the ruling NCP. However, since joining the government 17 months ago, Yadav's party has repeatedly expressed its discontent with the government's performance and warned it would quit the government if it failed to amend the constitution. The approach has been criticized within the party ranks as well. The party has 3 ministers, including Upendra Yadav, who also is the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for Health. Earlier, Yadav was criticized when he opted to fly out of the country in visits when the country was hit with dengue outbreak that spread across 55 districts. The failure of Nepal Oil Corporation to introduce 2 variations of LP gas cylinders, one for household use and the other for commercial use, has been causing the corporation a loss of more than 250 million rupees every month. The government's failure has helped LP gas industries to accumulate additional profits of more than 60 million rupees per month. The corporation 6 years ago said that it would introduce 2 different types of LP gas cylinders for household and commercial use.
भ्याट पनि रिफन्ड पाइरहेको अवस्था छन् भने एउटा सानो मजदुरले युज गर्दाखेरि त्यसले भ्याट पनि रिफन्ड गर्ने अवस्था छैन। यो सब कारण सोचेर नै यो निलो रातो लगाऊ भनेर यसमा अहिले एकदमै अध्ययन भइरहेछन्। लागू यही गर्ने भने डिसिजन भइसकेको अवस्था छैन, तर लागू गर्ने तर्फ निगम चाहिँ तत्पर छ, अध्ययन अनुसन्धान चाहिँ गरिरहेको अवस्था।
The corporation even distributed gas cards to consumers and collected revenue. The corporation then spent around 150 million rupees to collar 600,000 gas cylinders. The state's oil corporation planned to provide household cooking gas at a subsidy. However, the government has remained unable to implement the plan.
केही अब चुहावट चाहिँ नहोस्, ठगी नगरुन् भन्ने हिसाबले र अलिकति सहुलियतपूर्ण चाहिँ दरमा उपभोक्ताहरूले चाहिँ सामान्य उपभोक्ताहरूले ग्यास पाउन् भनेर त्यो गरे आयो। तर अहिले अब त्यो भएको छैन नै भन्ने देखिन्छ। त्यो हुनुपर्ने हो। अब त्यसको त्यो भित्री पाटो अवरोध केही समस्याहरू छन् भने बसेर छलफल गर्नुपर्छ, तर त्यसलाई इम्प्लिमेन्टेसनमा ल्याउनुपर्छ।
2.8 million cylinders are consumed in the country every month. 25% of the total cylinders are consumed for commercial use. With each cylinder sale, the NOC is incurring a loss of 90 rupees. At present, the profit from petrol and aviation fuel has been covering the loss of LP gas. And we'll take a short break here. For more news, do stay with us. Pharmacies are not allowed to sell medicines without having academic qualification or formal training in the related field. However, many unqualified individuals have been found selling medicines through hundreds of pharmacies at both private and government hospitals across the country. We have a report.
As per the existing laws, in order to work at a pharmacy, it is mandatory to undergo formal training on pharmacy if one does not have any academic qualification on it. However, even the government hospitals have appointed unqualified individuals to sell medicines which have the tendency of proving detrimental to the public's health. The hospital managements attribute the malpractice to inadequate postings for pharmacists while they are compelled to run their pharmacies around the clock on a daily basis. This scenario is even worse at private hospitals and clinics as there are more unqualified individuals selling medicines. As per the Department of Drug Administration, there are altogether 21,000 pharmacies in operation across the country. A monitoring conducted by the department has revealed that the unqualified individuals have not only been selling medicines but also been examining patients during the absence of medical professionals. Along with only occasional monitoring, the concerned authorities have remained largely indifferent towards penalizing the ones involved in such a carelessness that has a direct impact on the public's health. The Department of Drug Administration nonetheless has continued to shy away from its responsibility, citing inadequate human resources. Experts have stressed on the need of concrete measures by the government to curb the malpractice in order to prevent it from becoming more rampant in the public health sector.
And time for international update. Protests have erupted across Iran after the government unexpectedly announced it was rationing petrol and increasing its prices by at least 50%. The authorities have reduced heavy subsidies on petrol prices to curb the impact of US sanctions, which have badly affected Iran's economy. Under the new measures, each motorist is allowed to buy 60 liters of petrol per month at 15,000 rials a litre. Each additional litre then costs 30,000 rials. Iran says revenues gained from removing subsidies on petrol will be used for cash payments to low-income households. Protests broke out in key cities as protesters attacked fuel storage warehouse in Sirzan, central Iran, while demonstrators blocked roads by abandoning their cars in traffic in Iran's second-largest city, Mashhad. Iran faces stiff sanctions on oil exports after the US pulled out of a nuclear deal with world powers in 2018. And we have more news coming up, but right now it's time for another short break. And in our public voice segment, we had asked the residents of Rukum district what sort of difficulties have they been facing while traveling through Rapti highway. Let's take a look at what they have to say.
Public voice.
यहाँबाट दाङ जानलाई लगभग 4-5 घण्टाको बाटो हो, त्यसमाथि 8-10 घण्टा लाग्छ।
खाल्डा खुल्डी धुवा धुलोले गर्दाखेरि 2 घण्टामा पुग्नु पर्ने बाटोमा हामीले 4 घण्टा 6 घण्टा शास्ति भोग्नु परेको छ।
बाटो एकदमै खाल्डा खुल्डी परेर बच्चाहरूलाई बुढापाकाहरूलाई नै एकदमै गाह्रो हुन्छ।
साँघुरो बाटोको कारण गाडी धेरै पछाडी ब्याक गरेर ढिला छिटो हतार भइरहेको अवस्थामा पनि अनि ढिला भइरहेको छ।
बाटो साँघुरो भएर चाहिँ गाडीहरू ब्याक गर्नुपर्ने एक्सिडेन्टको धेरै सम्भावनाहरू छ।
And now time for our segment Public Pulse, where it texts us with their opinion.
Public Pulse.
What's your take on the government's delay to implement its plan of bringing 2 types of cooking gas cylinders on subsidy? Your options are A, lack of interest of NOC's management, option B, vested interest of businesses, and option C, challenging task. The voting is on. Type NAWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And let's move on to sports update.
Sports news.
The football governing body in the country, ENFA, has expelled 4 players from the national team for misconduct for the first time in Nepal's football history. ENFA has expelled Bimal Ghartimagar, Anjan Bista, Dinesh Raj Bangsi and Santosh Tamang from the national team after they were found to visit a nightclub in the capital's Tamil during close training of the team. ENFA, however, has not made further comments into the breach of discipline by its players. The national team left for Bhutan without the 4 players yesterday itself to play against Kuwait in the second round of Asian qualifiers for the FIFA World Cup 2022. And it's now time for our special segment.
Following the much-awaited verdict on Babari Masjid, India's Supreme Court has agreed to review its landmark judgment allowing women of menstruating age to enter a controversial Hindu shrine. A 5-judge bench last year had ruled that keeping women out of the Sabarimala shrine in the southern state of Kerala as discriminatory. The verdict led to massive protests in the state. Women who tried to enter the shrine were either sent back or in some cases even assaulted. Sabarimala had a blanket ban on all women between the ages of 10 and 50. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani said Afghanistan is to release 3 high-profile Taliban prisoners in exchange for 2 hostages held by the group. The 2 hostages, a US citizen and an Australian, were lecturers at the American University of Afghanistan in Kabul when they were kidnapped in 2016. Anas Haqqani, a leading figure in the Haqqani militant group, and 2 other senior commanders are part of the deal. The hostages involved in the swap are US citizen Kevin King and Australian Timothy Weeks. The 2 professors were ambushed by gunmen and taken from a vehicle while leaving their university in August of 2016. Italy declared a state of emergency in Venice after the Italian city was engulfed by 6-feet-high water levels, flooding its historic basilica and cutting power to homes. More than 80% of the city, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was underwater when tides were at their highest. Italy's Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte described the flooding as a blow to the heart of the country. Italian Prime Minister Conte stated that the individuals could claim up to 5,000 euros and businesses up to 20,000 euros in compensations. This is Sarah Sapsanama for Kantipur News Desk.
And here's a look at the top stories one more time. Sanghiya Samajwadi Forum Nepal remains undecided on its stand on government, resorts to frequent criticism while sticking with the ruling coalition. Nepal Oil Corporation fails to implement its cooking gas scheme aimed at providing relief to customers. Customers bearing the brunt while businesses continue to flourish. Protests erupt across Iran as the government announces rationing of petrol and increasing its prices by at least 50%. And NFI expels 4 players from the national team on disciplinary grounds, the incident first of its kind in Nepal's football history. And those were our latest headlines. Our next English bulletin will be at 11 a.m. Good day.